course, of course. Yeah. So your name's Emily Guerra. Okay, and I'm sensing some Latino Hispanic heritage there.
Yep. I am born and raised in Los Angeles, but my dad and his family is from Mexico. So I am half Hispanic, and I did not grow up speaking Spanish, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but I've been trying to teach myself Spanish ever since I was around 14. So I'm not too bad, although I'm not fluent.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I'm on the same boat. I mean, I was born and raised here in Florida, and I speak, I guess, what they call pocho. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's kind of my vibe. So don't worry, I'm not gonna put you to a Spanish test here. We're gonna have a conversation in good old fashioned English. But so going to your profile, one thing I noticed was that, well, the first thing I noticed was like, is this AOC on here? Like, if you really have those in this AOC. I don't know if you've ever had that said before.
Actually have not, but I'm honestly
You
honored
haven't?
that you
So
and said that. Like,
no,
thank you
I,
so
I
much.
I
That's
did for like half
my
a
week.
second. Oh, really? There you go. I mean, that was a 50-50, depending on your politics.
No, right?
Yeah.
Not either way.
Yeah, it would have ended the podcast. It would have didn't, we're done here. But okay, so there we
We're
go.
on the same
But
page.
yeah, we're on the same page. But yeah, when I first saw it, I was just like, it's enthusiastic. You just like going through the screen and then doing research, obviously, on your Instagram. You have the same flow of kind of like going through the screen at the person, like you and your content. And it was, to me, it was so appeasing because it was just very authentic. And I mean, not to get too hippie here, but your name, the Productivity Flow, the Productivity Flow. I just felt like it was very like that rhythm is just like, poof, like being productive and flowing into it. Is that something that you did knowingly, or I mean, is it just it's your makeup as a person? Where it's just like productivity flowing with
You
energy.
know,
You know.
I thank you so much. Like that, those compliments mean the world to me because that was honestly my whole goal with social media and my
Mhm.
brand was to really both show who I am as a person and who I naturally just my energy and I love just like I've always loved productivity and mental health and combining the two. It's just who I am as a person. And so when I created the Productivity Flow, I really wanted to create a brand that embodied that. And so I did my best to make like my website actually flow and the text flow and all wavy and fun and just aesthetically pleasing, of course. But really, it's all about just connecting productivity and mental health together into one
Yeah.
atmosphere because that's just so not commonly done. And so that's what I really try to do with my content and why I do try to speak to the audience and to you specifically, because everything I want to share, I always have my audience in mind.
That you always wanted to be a wedding planner. So
Mhm.
being a kid, did you like watch the Disney movies and all this and that and the fairy tale romance? Or what was it?
Absolutely.
Like what makes a kid want to be the wedding planner? You know.
That is so. My mom and I were actually just talking about this and how funny it is. It was that show "Say Yes to the Dress."
I don't know it. I
No,
don't know it.
I
Okay.
didn't expect you to. Honestly, it was a TLC show. It might still be going on. I honestly don't know. I don't have cable anymore, but they
Who does, right?
basically it was this.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It was this wedding dress store in New York, and brides would go and try on the dress until they found the one and wanted to say yes to the dress. And just that whole watching that show, being obsessed with it, I think is really what kickstarted my desire to become a wedding planner. And then as I started actually doing weddings and taking on internships both in high school and in college, I fell in love with it for the productivity aspect of it. And I love how organized and systematic it always was. And it really united organizational skills along with aesthetics and interpersonal skills by communicating like with the bride and handling their best day and also handling bridezillas if you ever came across those and just
Bridezilla.
handle
Go into that. Go. What is a bridezilla? Is that like, okay, I can guess it, but break it down.
the
Bridezilla. Okay.
The Bridezilla is like, I think the name comes from a combination of like Godzilla and Bride. So just one who is a little crazy and wants it her way or the highway. And honestly, I really shouldn't even be using that term because wedding planning is so stressful for the bride and everybody handles stress differently. So I think high school me was a little less versed with handling those bridezillas than I would be
Mhm.
today. But I'm no longer handling them. I ended up no longer, I stopped wedding planning when COVID hit and there were no more weddings happening around. So I decided to pivot and do some social media freelancing. And through that journey is how I ended up starting the Productivity Flow.
So going back to wedding, it's a good fun, but I mean, what bride isn't stressed? Like what bride isn't,
Exactly.
so that's something that I think about. So like you as a wedding planner, you have to be very patient and very capable of carrying the stress, right? Because like who isn't stressed
Mhm.
during the wedding? I mean, if the guy is not stressed, that's also kind of like you want the guy to be a little stressed, the groom. He should be invested, right? He should be invested in it, right? He shouldn't
He
be like,
invested a lot of money. So
yeah, right. He should be, he shouldn't just be like laissez-faire about it. He should be, somewhat, stressed a little bit. So you as a wedding planner,
absolutely.
how do you like, how do you carry the weight of all of that, of everyone, the in-laws, it's something that the concept of a wedding, people always say, they always say, I'm not gonna do a big wedding. I'm just gonna save money and not do a big wedding.
Hmm.
But then they start inviting people, and before you know it, it's a big wedding
Hmm.
because they want to invite so many
Hmm.
people. And like, how do you manage that as a wedding planner? Do you have other people assisting you? Like, how does that work as a wedding
Yeah. So wedding planners definitely have teams of their choosing, and typically it's a smaller team. What really helps a wedding planner deal with those kind of situations is two things. Firstly, having systems and an organization and a process for everything. So a wedding planner always has a list of vendors that they work with, and they always have like a list of florists that they work with. And so they have like an arsenal that they use, and they can always refer to their arsenal and refer to those systems that they've used in the past and the relationships that they've developed. So that's one part of it. And then another part of it is also having confidence in those systems and having trust in those relationships that the vendors will follow through, that nothing will seep through the cracks when you handle or hand anything off to your team, and those kind of things. So it's really just about building that foundation as a wedding planner before you even take on a bride. I think that to me is the key. And what I loved the most about it, which is why it's honestly no surprise that I ended up productivity coaching, because it was like, what exactly? Because any wedding planning team I was on, I was always in charge of creating the workflows, creating the systems, making sure everything was organized, because it was just my bread and butter. It gets me excited to organize and to do that kind of stuff, which is so rare. Not many people love it the way I do. So,
Well, you're the elementary kid in class, that's like very organized and everything is, listed and is the line leader. I don't know if you had those when you were in school, but like, is in charge of these things, right? So that being said, like you said, you hit the nail on the head, like how you transition from wedding planning to then having a productivity flow. So did that also make you good at like banter? Like if you last minute you need like help with something, you know who to call and be like, come on, I got you this time. Next time I got you so and so, like favor for a favor. That made you good at these kind of things.
so I definitely was a lot better about it when I was wedding planning. And I think COVID instilled a lot of social anxiety within me
Mhm.
and made it a little made I felt a little bit more challenged in reaching out to others in
Okay.
an industry that was not wedding planning, because I always did wedding planning and was so used to that industry that when I started freelancing for myself and completely left wedding planning, I felt so new and so uncertain that I kind of convinced myself anyone I knew in the wedding planning world like could not help me, even though that's probably not true. And so I definitely went through this phase of not really asking for help, but definitely needing help. And I talked a lot with my therapist about it. I'm super open about mental health therapy, and I love my therapist. And she was really just telling me that I need to be a little bit channeling that wedding planner energy that I had and use it more to put myself out there and to network and to ask for these favors, and also to offer value to other people in this new arena that I'm in, and to show other people like, hey, I know you used to know me as a wedding planner, but this is what I'm doing now. check it out. And that transition has been a learning curve for sure, but it's also made me a lot more confident in what I am offering now, which is something I can say now, but I don't think I would have said even 6 months ago.
That it's all encompassing. Like you can utilize these through of whatever you need to do in your life, whether that be dieting, whether it be coaching, whether it be having your schedule around your kids daycare and soccer practice, all these things being productive. It's all encompassing.
Mhm.
So is that something that when you meet a client, you first have to filter their needs to kind of be like, okay, how can we make you more productive?
Absolutely. I love that you said that because so many people, I think, and a big issue with the productivity just industry in general is that it is so focused on work. And people don't realize that you can be
Yeah.
productive outside of work and that self care is actually very productive and that rest
Mm,
is be productive.
you're
And that
cooking. You're
these
cooking, Emily. You're
people
cooking. Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things that we typically ignore, that we typically put off to the side in order to be productive at work.
Mm,
Ironic, isn't it? Like, isn't that
yep.
a little ironic when we take a step back and realize? And so that is my mission as a productivity life coach. I really try to help my client understand, okay, where is it that we're having a little bit of a misunderstanding of what productivity is, of what being productive means for you. And the way I do that is by first defining a self care mindset and explaining that all self care is giving yourself what you need to succeed. That's really the basics of it. It doesn't have to be a 3 hour long morning routine, it doesn't have to be a nice dinner out that costs a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a bath. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or extra.
Yeah.
It is the basics, like
Mm.
8 hours of sleep, like eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like those kind of things that fuel you and allow you to succeed. So that's the first thing I always do. The second thing I always do is redefine productivity. And you know what's crazy to me? So in Britannica, the dictionary, do you
Mhm.
want to guess how productivity is defined?
I would imagine productivity is defined as working endlessly towards something. Like never. I mean, that's how I would define it. The universal definition, like just working endlessly towards a certain goal. Hmm.
That's very similar to how the Britannica defines it. Britannica says simply getting a lot done.
Mm.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
something's missing from
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
definition
Okay.
because you can
Okay.
get a lot of the wrong stuff done. You can
Mm.
focus a lot on not your priorities and move your goals nowhere. And so redefining even that what being productive is so key to understanding that you can be productive in any part of your life. And the way I define productivity is there's three pillars of productivity. First one is motivation. So you know the benefit that you're getting out of whatever it is that you're doing. The second thing is focus. So no distractions. And that means no notifications, no external distractions, but it also means no mental distractions and having your mind. So like no self-doubt, no dread, no anxiety, things like that that prevent you from putting your best foot forward. And then the third pillar is flow, which is sustained, easy effort. Now, this doesn't mean that the task itself or whatever it is that you're doing is easy. It just means that you feel easy. It feels easier to
Mm.
go through the motions. And so,
Okay.
as long as you can have those three things, you can really be productive in any sense. And it's about how do I get those three things? How do I get motivation if that's what I'm missing? How do I find focus if that's what I'm missing? Where do I need more flow if that's what I'm missing? And then you can put the
Yeah.
pieces together and boom, a formula for productivity.
No, no. Let me tell you, man. You don't need me to tell you, but you definitely know your stuff. Because it's just the way that what you mentioned fits into, for example, the way I immediately thought about was gym, like working out, right? Because I work out, so I immediately thought about working out, motivation, right? Need focus, and then the flow part. What I always tell people when I work out with them, or I train them or give them advice here and there. I always tell them, don't worry about the weight, just worry about, worry about getting the set right. Worry about,
Mhm.
get the form. That's the word. So flow for me is form. Get in the form right.
Love that.
Don't worry about the weight. Don't look at no one else. Don't look at this guy's doing this person's doing that. Just do your own thing and get the form right before anything. Once you get the form right, the flow is just gonna be like effort. I mean, obviously it's gonna be effort because you're working out, but it's gonna seem effortless, and it's just gonna, it's gonna glide. So we were saying that, and it was ringing in my head, like, yeah, motivation, yeah, to get there to the gym, to get motivated, and then once you're there, focus, right? No distractions,
Mhm.
no self doubt, self dread, competing with the person over there, no, compete with the guy in the mirror. That's it, right? And then the flow, which is the form.
Love that.
So it's like everything is
Oh my
like
God,
ding,
I
ding,
love
ding.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
fits so perfectly. And that was such a good example of how you can be productive outside of work. And it doesn't have to be saved for a work environment. It's actually for every part of your life, really. So
Yeah,
I
and
love
and
that.
the production definition, like you said, I mean, I'm not a meathead, but I mean, everything I think about, I mean, obviously, the gym, it's a big part of my daily routine. But being productive would be like just doing endless reps without a certain routine, just doing reps to do them. I'm just like, I go to the gym every day, and I'm just like lifting every day. I'm just lifting every day without any rhyme or reason.
Love it.
I'm lifting. I'm being productive, right? I'm going to the gym 3 hours. I'm killing myself lifting, but what am I doing really? That's not being productive, like to your just about the definition of productivity. I mean, it's
Mhm.
about that because I did it myself too when I was a teenager. I would be like, people would ask me how long have you been working out, and it's like, what's a two-part question? I've been working out since I was a teenager, but working out correctly a couple of years, because just doing it like you said, being productive, going to the gym, but not really being productive, not doing, following the pillars of productivity, like you so eloquently put it. So that's something that immediately right there, you said it, it registered in my head. And yeah, you definitely know your stuff. Not that you
No,
don't need me to validate you, but it's something that immediately, it ringed in my head right there.
I will take all the validation I can get. Let's be honest, I'm human, right?
No,
But
that's awesome.
thank you so much for saying that. And also, what I really love about everything that you just said was how you were able to say, okay, flow and form are kind of the same thing. Let me adapt Emily's vocabulary to fit into my own life and to fit
Yep.
into what's going on for me. So I encourage any listener to also do that, to see, okay, like maybe it's not motivation, maybe intention is a better word. Maybe
Mhm.
it's not focus, maybe it's just eliminating distractions clicks better for you, you know? So finding out what clicks better for you and what
Yep.
inspires you and
Mhm.
sticking with that. And
Yeah, because
that's exactly what you
yeah,
did.
yeah, like intent, distractions, a huge thing could be that, could be envy, it could be all these things that we feel, these emotions,
Mhm.
anger. Like someone mentioned to me the other day, so very well put, was that consuming anger is like drinking poison, you're expecting the other person to die from it. No, you're killing yourself inside. But
Really good. Oh, I love
yeah,
that way of
yeah,
saying it.
yeah,
That's a really
yeah,
good way to say it.
yeah.
Wow.
But see,
I might steal it.
yeah, yeah, I stole it from her, Sarah Webb. Shout out. But so when you mentioned the grind right now, as a guy, from my perspective, social media, we see this thing about the alpha male grind set, right? It's grinding and working 20 hours a day, and that being glamorized, right? The hustle, right? It's like the grind, and it's so crazy that like you'll see a person, like, I don't know if you get this, hopefully you don't get this, but you would see someone judge you because they're working out who knows what field, doing physical labor, and you and other coaches are working in a different way, doing more interpersonal coaching kind of method, right, to
Mhm.
help other people, and they would be like, huh, that's not work, I'm over here breaking my back and breaking bricks and working 20 hours a day. And it's like, well, who's the joke on then? But it's something that society, I guess, it has brainwashed, men in particular. I don't know about the women perspective. Maybe you can share light on that. But it has glamorized for men to kill themselves working and not
Totally.
earn, not being paid the equal pay that they should receive. Capitalism, but it being glamorized that you may not make as much as the soy boy that's in the office working at Twitter or whatever, right? The
Yeah.
Silicon Valley soy boy, but at least you're breaking your back and you're making a lot more money and you're being manly about it. It's something that I see that is being pushed on males. I don't know if it's a one perspective, it's similar. If there's something there, maybe you could speak on that.
You know, honestly, I still, even though I started productivity coaching, I also still have kept on a lot of my freelancing social media clients. And
Mhm.
one of them is in the forestry industry. And so it's really interesting how male dominated that industry is, and how a lot of forestry work, of course, is manual labor. And there's very few women involved in that industry, right? And then as a coach, I'm actually also a part of a coaches community, and it's 99% women. It's all women.
Yeah.
And so it's like very interesting how there can be such diversity in my own life, where I can see within my own jobs, like, okay, this force is really male dominated. The one I'm entering is very female dominated. Like, what is going on here? Why is this the way? And of course, just there's a lot of societal gender stuff going on there. But if we can look at also just hustle culture and how that has like been so different for both male and female, because I think it really has been. And then I also think it's been very different for like the physical labor industry, and then for more the anyone who just sits on their computer, that kind of more intellectual, I guess, industry. Because I think hustle culture is for the physically laborious industries is very much exactly what you described, you know? And then the way I see it, especially within a lot of females, and especially within a lot of female entrepreneurs, is the hustle culture is like always working. I have to get it all done in less time. And that's kind of why people are just want to be productive, is to get it all done in less time, to hustle, to do this, to do that. And everyone kind of almost brags about, oh, I don't have time for that, or oh, my calendar is full. I'm still over scheduled.
I wish I had the time.
Never.
I wish I had the time to do that. Yeah.
Had the time. It's for some reason we brag about that. And it's so funny because it's like entrepreneurs became an entrepreneur for freedom, to run their own life the way that they want it. And then they become a victim to this hustle culture, to wanting to do more in less time. And they lose all of their freedom. So they might as well have just stayed in the rat race at that point. It's like,
or hamster wheel. It's
exactly. Totally. So it's like, okay, I feel like it's exactly what you've been talking about, just like on a different level, where I've really seen it a lot in female entrepreneurs. And a lot of my clients are kind of stuck in that hustle culture mentality of needing to get a lot done in less time at any sacrifice, including like the sacrifice of sleep, self-care, family time, balanced, like meals even. And it's like, okay, but is that productive? Is this hustle culture worth it? What are you actually getting that is so great and so important that you couldn't get if you chose to live your life balanced?
And there's another rabbit hole there too, because going back to finish off on that, I mean, it's something that I see on Instagram a lot. Like whenever I go to an Instagram, I see a reel or something like of this kind of nature, I put on the Kim suit and I go into the comment section because I already know what's gonna happen. Like the other day I saw a reel, it was a female and she was working in an office. I don't know if she was working at home, but she was at a keyboard and she had like a foot warmer. You know, she's showing like a day in her life, right? Very SAMR-ish, right? Touching the keyboard. And, you know, foot warmer, tea, making lists, doing this and that. And the comment section was full of guys bragging about how they're working construction 20 hours a day and that this person probably makes more than they do. And it's like, probably do. Maybe you should turn around and ask yourself why that is. Maybe, you know, instead of bashing another person, instead of reassessing their own situation, they want to bash this person. And also there's the gender difference there too. There's the woman aspect, right? This woman doing quote unquote easy job, you know, and making lists and being organized and insulting the person over that. It's something that we see on Instagram. We see it pushed, and the thing about these algorithms, unfortunately, even if you don't like it, like even if you don't like the video, even if you don't comment on it, the fact that you stopped and looked at it and observed it, you're gonna get more of the same content. So it's something that's like detrimental to the psyche. Like if it triggers you and you're looking at it, and you know, looking at it is gonna make the algorithm send you more videos. And if you comment defending the female, defending whatever perspective you want to see, they're going to see you more because your comments are reacting to it. You're spending time on it. So the algorithm is going to keep pushing whatever you react to.
Yeah, no, totally. I have been lucky in a sense that I haven't received any of those kind of comments. Now, that being said, I have a lot of friends who have. And even actually just yesterday, one of my friends who is a fitness she actually started a fitness brand that is all sustainable and it's super cool. And she was just getting a lot of heat by some fitness male guys on Instagram and just like popping
Mhm.
off at her. So rude, so mean for no real reason. It was more just like they wanted to feel better about themselves.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's like for those kind of people, I honestly just wish them well because
Yeah.
they need some help, I
Mhm.
think, in changing their perspectives, but in also being willing to listen to others. Because when you're not listening to others, when you're not hearing another person's story, and when you are judging someone based off of a 30-second reel,
Mhm.
you don't know the person, and it's really unfair to judge and comment. I will say a lot of my content is more about giving tips and doing things like
Mhm.
that. So I always try to offer value, and maybe that is why I haven't gotten any comments like this. But
Yeah.
I do stray away from Twitter and I do stray away from Instagram. I have an Instagram, but I actually haven't posted on it in a little bit. But I've been really focusing on TikTok and like
Mm.
specifically personal development TikTok. I
Well,
think it's very empowering when you can search like self care, productivity, and just have all of your search terms really run the algorithm, which I have found that TikTok, that's what's happened with my feed. So that's been really nice. I also use Pinterest a lot, which is super just all about empowering and ideas and collaborating creativity. So I definitely try to be very, very picky with what social platforms I put myself on
Mhm.
for those exact reasons to avoid just any unnecessary hatred out there, which is so
No.
sad, honestly,
Yeah.
that that's like a normal thing for a
Yeah.
female entrepreneur to have to worry about.
Yeah, it's something that I mean, kudos to you. Very mature and a very healthy choice to just be like, I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm gonna stick in TikTok. Like what I do with my Instagram. The reason I get these kind of reels is it's on my podcast Instagram, and because of
Oh, sure.
I'm interacting a bit more. Because you have to have interactions. That's where I'm getting these kind of things on my personal Instagram. It's all Kirby. It's all cats. Because that's what I like. That's what I want to. Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh OG. And also, I don't know if you saw this. It's like a green Martian that went trending recently. The Hugh, who's that beautiful girl? Could she be any sweeter? I don't know if you saw those reels or those.
No, I didn't.
It's like they're like Muppets, and it's like who
Funny.
she would be sweeter, but they're characters based out of Canada apparently, and they have that's my jazz. So when I go to my personal
Love it.
Instagram, it's always adorable things, and I couldn't be any.
Love that. Good.
And that's what I do. That's what I react to. And that's all I see, right? But on the other one, because I'm trying to interact with different brands and different, trying to
Mm-hmm.
get some kind of insight, right, to understand the beast, right? So I'm in the belly of the beast, and that's where I get exposed to these things more. But like you said, that's also a healthy decision to just be like, I'm just going to go to TikTok and look for self development, and go to Pinterest and just do my
Mm-hmm.
jazz. So that's also a very healthy choice.
I think the reason I am like that is because I, number one, grew up with social media. I think Facebook came out when I was around 11.
Mm,
So I really grew up with, like, I had Twitter in high school, and there was,
okay.
there was a lot of like Twitter bullying going on, and just like,
Mm,
I decided to delete my Twitter in high school and I never looked back. And like when I was growing up, everything was like, okay, let's go do like a photo shoot for our Facebook profile pictures. And like, and it was
mm,
so glamorized. And so like, if you don't have X number of likes, then you're not cool. And
yeah.
I really
Yeah.
hated it.
Yeah.
And, and so I've just never been someone who enjoys social media, which is very ironic that I ended up doing social media services as a freelancing job, but whole other story there.
Mm,
But it's just so I think I have that mentality of, you know what, I'm just not going to deal with it from
mm.
growing up with that. And I also grew up in Los Angeles, which is notoriously a judgmental city.
Yeah, right?
So,
Isn't that also the influencer hotbed, right?
exactly. So just
Mm,
having the two together, I think, kind of made me not love social media. But since I did not grow up with TikTok, since TikTok's pretty new, I feel like that is why I was drawn to using that one.
Mhm.
And since Pinterest, I never used Pinterest until after college. So again, I just felt really drawn to it since it just wasn't a part of my childhood, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was younger, I guess to date myself, do you remember MySpace before your that was after yeah. So MySpace, that was the thing, and like they had top eights, like friends lists. And if you didn't make the top eight, you'd be like, why am I not in the top eight? And then like
Yeah.
you would have like a some kind of argument. Like I remember this friend named Tina, and it was something happened in school. I forgot what it was, but it was a dumb little thing. And next thing I knew, I was out of her top eight, and I was like, "Oh man!" And it's like it was something that you were aware of. And it's like if you messed up, you're out of my top eight. It was something that was
Yeah.
really interesting. I mean, thankfully, Facebook doesn't have that the top eight or all these things anymore.
I do remember the thing for like, at least for my whole like friend group in class growing up was poking on Facebook.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if you got a poke, you were cool. But if someone stopped poking you back, uh-oh.
oh
You're
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you had the poke back. Yes, yes, I do.
that was the whole like, ooh,
Yeah.
am I getting poked today?
Yeah, I mean, but poking, what made poking so desirable, right? Poking is not desirable in real life. Like poking
You
some
know, right? It's actually don't poke me, please.
yeah, yeah. I just
No,
remember
I
getting
mean it's
poked.
really just the meaning. It's the
Yeah,
meaning that we put onto it, you know?
yeah, and also on MySpace, we used to do a thing called like showing love. I don't know if you remember that. We used to go to the
Don't remember
person's wall post. Well, I think I'm older than you, but we'll go to a wall post and we'd be like, just stopping by to show love. And like someone showed you love, when you came home from school, you had to show love to everyone that showed you love back. Because if you didn't, they would think that you hate them now. And you would have to find a personal picture for them, whether that be like a low rider, if the person is into like Mexican culture, like a low rider, saying we're sparking letters, just stopping by your page to show you love, little homie. And you had to find these things for every specific person. It was such a task. But if you didn't do it, I guess you didn't put in the effort and you didn't value them like they valued you. It was something that I guess as humans we're primates, and whatever is invented, we're gonna find a way to make sure to see who's popular, top right,
Yeah.
set us apart,
No,
right?
we compare. We
Yes, yes.
that is such a natural human reaction,
Mhm.
which is really unfortunate, honestly. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
our natural way of like
Mhm.
looking at other people is to compare. And you really do have to train yourself to like catch yourself when you're in that self-talk, when you are like comparing yourself to someone else and when you are either whether it's judging, gossiping, or maybe even like being a little jealous or doubtful of yourself or whatever it may be, like that's the moment when you have to be like, okay,
Yeah.
is this actually me or is this just like my self-talk popping off? And like,
Yes.
do I
Yes.
really believe this? Like,
Yes.
question this. And
Yes.
like, when you can like catch yourself in the moment and actually ask yourself, like, huh, okay, let me think about this. I have a choice here. What choice do I want to make? And then make the choice that fits best with who you want to be.
Yes.
That's honestly like the key to like overcoming that comparisonitis and all of those
Yes.
lingering negative emotions that we can have with it.
Man, talk that talk because what I get recently from people that are trying to help me, I mean, and I appreciate the help. What I get is advice on how to be more how to get into the algorithm, right? Make your videos shorter, right? Do this and that. Make it shorter. Have a hook, right? Do something. Have loops, and these things, I guess they do work, but it's not authentic to myself. I'm a podcaster. Right? I ramble. I can't make a video of 12 seconds. It's a lot of talking. So I
Yeah.
can't just do that. And there's
No,
something
I so agree with you.
yeah.
I so like I've heard that too, where like your TikToks need a hook. You have to grab someone's
Mm,
attention. You have to, so like actually a couple months ago, I really wasn't worrying about that. I was just like recording however long the video ended up, is however long it ended up, whatever, as long as I was creating content and putting it out there. And then I started getting a lot of feedback of like, you need hooks, you need
mhm.
call to actions, you need blah blah blah. I'm like,
Call to
I
action.
don't always
Yes.
want I don't always want a call to action. I just want to kind of share value. What's wrong with that? Like
Yes.
why
Yes.
can't I just share? Like
Yeah.
why do I always need a call to action? Like that to me is just like, well, I'm a coach. Like not everyone's going to want to be coached, but everyone's going to want some tips. So, like, I don't know. So, I kind of tried to do the hooks, do all the things. And honestly, I got less views, I got less comments, I got just less engagement overall. So, I scrapped it, went back to doing what I was doing, and I started getting more. And I think really what people want is authenticity, particularly from other people.
Yes.
And when you just like hear a voice and you're not like a big company, like, sure, these tactics may work for companies where there is no face to a brand. That makes sense. But when it's someone like you and like me, where we are the brand, this like our
Yes.
voice, our opinions, like is the content, they don't really want that marketing, salesy type of content. They want authenticity. And I've really had to learn that through trial and error the past couple of months. But I think even just like when we started our own conversation, like you looked at my social media and you said I was authentic. And so that to me was like, oh my God, I'm hitting my goal, because that's like
Yeah.
all I'm trying to do is just share authenticity. And I have noticed just like a little uptick in all the metrics. Although I really don't even look at the metrics, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, you can't
I don't know when it
overly assess about them.
happens.
Exactly what happened when it happens, and whoever comes into your tent and is joins your tribe and your fall. I mean, that's the people you want, people who like you for
Exactly.
putting out there. And it's something that I heard it somewhere where it's like everyone, the machine, whatever it may be, almost in every industry, the machine tries to make you vanilla, right? Just bland. And but then once you're bland, you're just like everyone else, and nothing stands out. It becomes
Exactly.
like almost like a monotone thing. So that's something that like I got from your thing. You weren't taking yourself like too serious, right? I mean, and it didn't. If anything, it added value to the advice because it was very authentic. I think the one I saw was if you're stressed out, 5 ways to like breathe and not be stressed out. And you were like, this happens to me like 5 times a day, and it's like a quick cut to you of like screaming, and a quick cut back to like being normal. And like it was something that it's there, and it's like, oh man, this person is real. It's like it's authentic. It's not like very like milk toast. It's not like I have all the answers now. Listen to me. It was like, no, I get stressed out too. I freak out too, and this is how I handle it and how I deal with it. It's something that immediately just like there's your hook. If you talk about hooks, there's a hook right there. An authentic.
Right? Exactly. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Honestly, that video was also just like so. I literally just recorded how I was feeling. I was like, oh, like I just lose it right now. And so I've been trying to just like put my phone up and like in those moments where I'm like, oh, this would be a good tip, like record. And that has been a shift because I think as a woman, I was really self conscious about posting on social media and even just like joining podcast episodes without wearing makeup and without making sure that my hair was done and without putting my contacts in and just like really making sure I was super camera ready. But then I realized, okay, I hate makeup personally. I've never been one that enjoys putting it on. I am someone who rotates between my 4 pair of sweatpants throughout the entire week. And I have like my same 3 sweaters. I'm very simple in that sense. I'm very easy. I like my routine. It helps with my decision fatigue. So I do it for a reason. And so I was kind of feeling like, well, if I wear makeup, I bet I would get like more views or whatever. Then I had to stop myself and be like, all right, Emily, is this the kind of brand that I want to be? Like, do I want to show other self employed females that they have to be wearing makeup on camera too? Like, no, that's not who I am. That's not what I want to show and value. And so, like, that shift for me was really big because then it allowed me to just relax and be myself a lot more and just like hit record and not really worry about like who cares how many likes it gets, who cares how many comments, just post some value and you are good to go. And that's been my mentality. And I definitely need to post more. I want to post more. I'm wearing so many hats at the moment that I find it a little challenging, but we will get there.
No, but to your aesthetic or to your outfit and all your sweaters and to me it's very flowy. It's like it's your brand. It's the flow, right? It's like great Bruce Lee said, be water. You want to flow like water. That way you can be ever flowing and flow into whatever surrounding or structure you find yourself in, like water does. And adapt. And that's something that from your aesthetic, it's very to me, it's very flow. It's very flowy and the way you're talking and your hands, it's something that it's like, okay, this person, yeah, 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 it's almost like this person is genuine, and this is really how they grew up, and they really, this is their mantra. It's something that adds that authenticity. So it's something that the flowing, the product flow.
When I thought of the productivity flow as like a name, the moment I thought of it, I was like, oh, that's the one. That's it. I don't know what it
Yeah,
just like, okay, like flow. Like I feel like that really embodies everything I'm trying to show. And like it's good for a brand. And so I am so happy that you have really picked it up and like
yeah,
can tell that it's been my kind of like branding mission. That makes me so happy, so fulfilled. Thank you for sharing. I really
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. Because flowing, you want to flow, you want to roll with the punches, you want to flow. If you say the what I get from the productivity flow, from the name and from the brand itself, is that you're flowing and you're adapting to the situation, right, to whatever
Mm.
comes your way. Because if you say the productivity plan, it's like, okay, I'm going to follow the plan, but what happens when something doesn't go to plan? I'm going to panic. Like, what do I do now? The fact that it's a flow, roll with the punches, flow with it, go with it. Okay, this happened. Now we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Flow. That's something I think of, and I don't know if that was intentional. It was subconscious,
Absolutely.
but it's something that when there's a plan there, when it's like, okay, follow these rules and you would be successful, it becomes very snake oil salesman like, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, oh, I'm perfect, I know everything, I'm gonna coach you and you're gonna make $1 million in 6 months. No, it's the productivity flow, right? It's something that you have to, how I see it is flowing with the punches, rolling with the punches and adapting. That's how I take it.
I love it. I love that so much because really what my goal was to, I feel like I said this earlier too, was really just to unite mental health, mindset, and being productive. And you can't really have flow. You can't be in the flow, feel like you're in the flow without first kind of priming your mindset. And a lot of people try to skip over that part and then they're not productive and they blame some external reason for why they're not productive and never really handle the internal and kind of go through life. Like I would bet a lot of people have gone through life without ever really being truly productive because they have just been so either focused on other people's priorities, not focused on your own mindset, letting all of these internal blocks prevent you from putting your best foot forward. And that's really what I've been trying to help other women like me understand and see so that way they can reach their fullest potential and they don't have to be in their own way anymore, whether that's boosting productivity or just getting unstuck in life in general. I think that's really my overall mission.
Yeah. Did you feel like COVID, for better for worse, COVID, it brought mental health to the forefront? Obviously,
Totally.
kind of out of necessity because it did test a lot of people. But do you feel like that's something that when you put your productivity flow and your plan into motion, that's something that you learned out of necessity because of COVID? I would imagine you were quarantined like everyone else.
Definitely quarantined like everyone else. I will say I don't think COVID was my aha moment with mental health. I actually grew up going to therapy every week ever since I was around 9 years old. So my parents got divorced when I was younger, and they put me in therapy to help with the transition and
Mhm.
all the family dynamics. And I feel very lucky that they did that because
Very
therefore
proactive.
I was raised with an understanding of mental health and an understanding of, why people acted the way they did. Because then I would bring it to my therapist and say, like, why is this happening? Why are they telling me this? Why are they reacting this way? And she would let me know why. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense now. Like now I understand it. And so having that just ability to have a therapist my whole life has been one of the luckiest things ever.
Mm,
And because of that, I have always brought mental health into whatever I do. It's just really been a part of who I am as a person and what I believe that, like, fundamentally, I strongly believe that every person in the world could benefit from therapy no matter who you are, even therapists. And I also strongly believe that I will never not be in therapy because I think it's just
yeah,
so incredibly helpful and
yeah,
so
yeah.
helpful in changes and transitions and in understanding yourself and how to make always just put your best foot forward. That really is kind of everyone's goal, but we don't maybe say it in that way, but that's really what we want to be doing, is putting our best foot forward all of the time. And so mental health and therapy definitely was a key component in helping me transition out of wedding planning when COVID happened, and helping me understand that I have a choice, that I could either wait for lockdown to end. I think I was on month 4 or 5 roughly when I was finally made the choice to pivot and to start just freelancing out social media services. But I don't think if I had therapy, or if I had a mental health understanding of why I felt so stuck, why I felt so much dread and anger towards
Mhm.
the world, and like why I was just in such a bad mental space without my
Yeah.
foundational understanding, I may not have gotten out of it as quickly as I did. And I may not have started a business out of it like I
Yeah.
did. So I'm very grateful for my understanding. And I think COVID gave me the room to apply it, and the room to really put into practice what I've been learning a lot of my life. And to kind of, it was kind of a test for me, like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to take something away from you. How are you going to handle it? And I think
Yeah.
I handled it. Looking back, I'm very grateful for the way I handled it. So,
Yeah. Well, COVID made you literally stop, right? It made you stop
yeah,
and reassess. It just made you stop in your tracks. But
100%.
yeah, because you mentioned that you were in your bio that you've been in therapy for over a decade, and
Mhm.
I heard that and I was like, wait, so how old is she? Like, she looks really good for her age. Good job, good genetics. That's what's up. Makes two of us because I get told all the time I look 25 and I'm in my 30s. But it's something that when every time I think about a child being in therapy or needing therapy, it's usually like on shows or whatever, because it's like a detective talking to them about witnessing a crime, right? And they're
Mm,
trying to talk to
so
them, and they
true.
have like crayons or something for the kid to draw with to make the kid talk.
Mhm.
It's like a couch. It's not a formal interrogation room. But being 9 years old and your parents being proactive about that, like, did you ever talk to them about that? Like, about what made them, like, did they prioritize mental health before that? Like, what made them be like, okay, let's take her to a therapist at 9 years old?
So I think it was really my mom who pushed it. She had not been in therapy herself yet, but she was going into it herself at the
Mhm.
time as a result of her and my dad's divorce.
Yeah.
And so, because she was going into it and because she was so open minded about it for herself, it allowed me to be open minded. She really provided an example for me.
Mhm.
So I definitely have thanked my mom and been like, what made you put me in? Like,
Yeah.
no one my age was in therapy.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one really was it was very like, ooh, you're in therapy? What's wrong with you? Like, why are you in therapy? Like, kind of mentality about it. And so I give her so much props for even doing it, for even putting me in therapy and making sure that I always go. And she just said that something new. She just, like, something in her gut was telling her, like, your dad and I were getting separated. Like, you weren't going to have the life that you always had. Like,
Mm.
I didn't know how to handle my own change. How could I handle your change too? Like,
Yeah.
you needed a professional's help. And I was like,
Mm.
that's very honest. That's very empowering to say, like, hey, I need help and I'm okay with getting it. And I am okay
Mm.
with helping my daughter get it. Like, that's really cool and something that I am just so proud of my mom for.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Also coming from our background, that's not something that our culture really understands, right? It really doesn't
Totally.
prioritize mental health the way it does. It kind of just buries it deep inside and don't talk about it. Just kind of get over it. But how
Totally.
would you continue? Sorry.
I mean, that's just something I really want to change.
Yeah,
Help people
there you
not
go.
see
Yeah.
it anymore,
Yes. Yes, exactly, because it's buried oftentimes with vices, right? With alcohol, with other things, and it's not a good combination. But how would you go about, like I have friends who are divorced. Would you basically say the child should be in therapy because of X, or just in general the child should do therapy because you said everyone should get therapy at one point?
Well, I strongly believe everybody should get therapy.
I think it also very much, depends on the family. I think my parents went through a very bitter divorce and it was not easy and they did not like each other and it was just a bitter environment. And I think that played a role into why my mom knew that I needed a little bit more help because she couldn't necessarily provide it at the time. So it definitely depends on like the parents and like
The parents.
work
Yeah.
are they willing to work together? Are they willing, a lot of divorce, they're getting divorced for a reason. So a lot of times the parents are not willing to work together. And in those times, I strongly suggest a therapist just so that way the kid understands it's not the kid's fault. And the kid can see that like your parents are human, they're not perfect, they make mistakes. Let's understand why they got divorced. Let's understand what mistakes were made on both sides. So that way, when the day comes, you won't repeat those mistakes. And in order to like just have a third party who is not in your family, who is not at the dinner table with you, but
Yep.
who is able to objectively look at your situation and help you, decide what the right or wrong path for you is in your personal situation is priceless. It's really priceless, especially when you're at such a young age and your
Yep.
brain is in that point of development when you're a sponge. You soak in everything, and that's everything negative and everything positive. So a divorce can be really negative. It's just the nature of it. And why not bring a positive element into the kid's life,
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not a parent and I'm not divorced. I don't go through these things, but it's something that I guess the parents would have to decide. They would have to come to a consensus, depending, like you said, depending on how ugly the divorce was, what preceded it, how young the child is, right? Also, I think all this.
Totally. There's so many factors. Exactly.
Yeah, because far both. I'm not gonna be the one to tell someone how to raise their child. It's just something that
Yeah.
it's interesting to me because 9 years old and being in therapy, it's something that it's something that it's really unique. It's something that I don't think I.
Really unique.
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember? Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Mhm.
Totally. I totally remember it. And I remember hating it at first.
Yeah.
I really did not want to go. I definitely hid the fact that I went from my friends for years. I didn't tell anybody that I was really in therapy until high school.
Yeah.
And in high school was when I started being more comfortable about sharing it. And I think there was kind of just a point where I said to myself, like, I'm done hiding. Like, I enjoy. There was also a point where I actually started enjoying therapy. I shopped around for a new therapist, found one I really, really clicked with, and it started feeling really good. And so when I was like, why am I hiding this? Like, why am I ashamed of this? Like, this is helping me. This is stupid to be ashamed of. Like, I don't want to be hiding something that's helping me. And it was just like an internal decision to just, okay, I'm just going to talk about it like I would anything else. It's a part of life that we all experience, but not everybody gets help for it. And so if I shared the fact that I get help for it, maybe it'll inspire other people to get help too.
See, I think I remember seeing one of these cheesy. I don't know if you remember Mujer Casa de la Vida Real. If you ever saw that, it's like very soap opera-ish. I remember one time someone had to go to therapy, and it was like the insinuation was that they were crazy.
Yes.
Going to therapy,
Mhm.
like there was something wrong with your mind. You were like it was like
Totally.
loony bin, and it's so crazy to see that different perspective. And like you said, I mean, being in high school and being in it's brutal. Like you said,
Yeah.
you get targeted for standing out. So I could see how you wouldn't want to expose that information. Because even and from my perspective, I was always a little nerd, and I would read things. I would enjoy things that someone from my background usually doesn't enjoy. I guess doesn't nerd out about these things, and I would always be like, I would feel like the need to kind of not reveal these things, kind of tuck it under
Totally.
and code switch. Right, code switch when I was with the homeboys. Talk a certain way, dress a certain way, carry myself a certain way. Because if you it's almost like you get punished for flourishing, right, when you're younger.
No, totally. And I think there's also kind of a mentality of fitting in. And if you're not doing what everyone else is doing, then you're just a target. And you never want to be a target, right? You always want to protect yourself from doing that. And so we allow ourselves to dim ourselves down in order to prevent being a target. It's so human. And I think even at just High school was rough. I definitely went through my fair share of situations where I just really hated high school, really did not enjoy my time. But looking back, it built some character.
It did, right? It did. It did. It's funny. It's funny because high school, it's rough, man, and like it's funny because it's such a cliche, but it's true. You know, high school, we always see people who kind of peak early, as they say, right? Peak in
Mhm.
high school, right? And then the people who are getting picked on or whatever, or were the butt of the joke, kind of peak later. You know, peak later without
Totally.
throughout life. But it's something that, to your point, I think it's a Japanese proverb, or at least I saw it on Tokyo Drift out of all movies, but Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift about the nail that sticks out gets hammered twice. You know, so it's like, yeah, you're sticking out, you get hammered again, you know, for sticking out. You know, so it's something that but going back to another movie, because I saw I'm a encyclopedia of movies. I saw one of your Instagrams about like belly breathing, right?
Yes.
And I connected that with, I don't know if I've never seen it, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, 2009. Yeah,
My
at the
boyfriend's
beginning.
Marvel. I've seen
Okay,
every one.
you saw every Hulk. Oh,
I've
awesome.
seen
Okay, so
every Marvel.
okay, so it's one of the first Hulks. It's the one with Edward Norton, if you know that one. But in the beginning, he's like breathing and the guy's like slapping him and he's trying to breathe with his belly, right? He's moving his belly to breathe to control his like heart rate or like his angle. Is that something?
That's
All right.
exactly what I'm talking about. Oh my god,
Okay.
what good memory. Firstly, never have remembered that without your description. I'm very impressed that you, wow, great memory. But yeah, that's exactly what belly breathing is.
Mhm,
We so naturally breathe with our chest, like
mhm,
when we get anxious,
mhm,
and doing so, just scientifically, the way that our bodies work, it shortens the breath and it lets
mm,
you take in less oxygen, like literally less oxygen.
okay.
So it makes it harder to breathe, which then makes us more anxious, which then makes us
Mm,
go like even more. And it's kind of like a
yeah,
cycle. And that's where
yeah.
like
It's a paradox. Yeah,
totally
yeah, yeah.
like when you're anxious and you like have your hands like they get all shaky if you're really nervous, or if
Mhm,
you start sweating and your palms get a little like clammy, like these are all signs that it's time for some belly breathing, time to
mm,
calm down your nervous system a little bit. And all you do is just put your hands on your belly for like beginners to make sure that you're pushing your belly out and not your chest, but you just breathe in, push your belly out, hold it for
mhm,
3 seconds, breathe out, hold it again at the bottom for 3 seconds, and then
mhm,
do that cycle a couple of times. And it literally, you can feel your body relax and like loosen up. And
mhm,
breathing gets easier and easier. And then suddenly you can think again. And suddenly, like your thoughts are starting to, you can control them a little bit more and you can slow down and you can reorient yourself, get a clearer mind, and then continue whatever it is that you were trying to do, but
mhm.
just relaxed with your, I'm going to say it again, with your best foot forward.
Oh, yeah. So is that something that you would do like when it's time to like meditate, or just something when you're feeling overwhelmed and just like stopping to catch your breath and you would do these
I
things?
do it when I'm feeling overwhelmed. I honestly did it right before this podcast to kind of as like a mini meditation. I
Okay.
personally meditate every morning for like 15, 20 minutes just to start my day. More to start my work day. On the weekends, it's
Mhm,
to start my day. But during work days, I do it like at my desk to start my work
mhm,
day to bring that calmness into my day.
mhm,
But then whenever I'm like hopping into a meeting or a podcast or and just doing something that involves talking and like
yeah.
communicating with other people, I will always
Mhm,
do the belly breathing kind of just to calm myself down. And I think that stems from getting a little bit of social anxiety due to
yeah.
COVID and staying
Same.
indoors and having to release that social anxiety.
Mhm,
It helps me to like, okay, I don't need to be anxious right now. Like, that's kind of silly to be anxious now that I have calmed
mhm,
down and my mind's no longer racing. I
yeah.
see that. So I'm going to continue moving forward very calmly and confidently. And it's just like a good little trick
Mhm.
to bring you back to the moment.
It's funny because I mean, I don't know if everyone does it, but me too. Like whenever I'm about to go live, I gotta just try to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a method to the madness just yet. I should develop a method, and I like that you have your method down. That's your routine, productivity flow. But it's something that I should develop a method because I do find myself finding some looking for some way of reaching some kind of cathartic state before I start podcasting or have a
Totally.
conversation with someone that's a relative stranger, right? So it's something that either it's breathing or music, whatever I'm feeling that day, just kind of just calm myself and it's okay, good, cool, just relax. It's cool.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then when it starts flowing, you're good, and and I have golden retriever energy naturally. I just do. So it's something that I'm a boomer at heart. Like I've said it many times before. When I'm especially my sister, I have to embarrass her. I have to talk to people. I have to talk to the workers. I have to compliment them and make jokes and make dad jokes, even though I'm not a dad yet. And do all these dumb things. And it's not like I'm anxious, but something about when it's time to record, it's okay. It's like, okay, relax, do this, breathe, find your spirit animal, all these things, right? It's something that I just gotta, okay, we're good to go. So it's funny to hear that the methodology that you have structured, and it's cool that you have it structured. It's something where it's like your go-to thing, and I like that because like to me, the only thing I could think about is breathing, but like there's no method to it. I don't know what you would call that when there's not structured yet. It's just freelancing meditation, or what would you
I
like?
don't know whether you can label it as like maybe meditation. I don't think you label it. I think your routine and your thing will click. There's like gonna be a day when you're like you do something and you're like, oh, that felt good. Like that was I want to do that again. And when you have that feeling, listen to it, stick to it, and continue doing it. Because a lot of times you'll be like, oh yeah, that felt good, but I haven't done it since. Or like, oh yeah, that one time I did that was nice, but oh, I'm too busy and don't have time. And we get back into that whole cycle. So just like remembering, okay, what felt good? Like what calmed me down? What empowered me? Like let's make that into a little couple minute routine. Why not? A little ritual. And that's really what like rituals are all about, empowering you and just giving you a little snippet that can push you forward. I think a good breathing technique that I will use if I just can't focus, like if I'm trying to work on something, but my mind is going somewhere else, or if there's a lot of noise around or whatever, I will stare at some random thing like my AirPods case, for example, and put it in front of me and stare at it and count my breathing. And I always count like breathe in is 1, breathe out is 2, 3, 4, up to 10. And then I'll restart. And I'll do that 3 or 4 times. And that typically helps me like, okay, now that I've been staring at this, focusing on my breath and counting, like I kind of trained my brain a little bit to calm down and to focus. So now I can focus on what it is that I actually have to do. And it's been like a great trick for me to just kind of force in some focus, force out those distractions that are going on in my head.
Yeah, because full disclosure, your video where you were breathing, it's something that I watched and I tried myself, and I did feel calibrated after it, and it was something that thanks for sharing that with social media. It's even it's yeah your content is good.
So I'm writing it down because I have another video that I'm totally going to send you.
Yep.
So I wanted to write it down before I forgot. Thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it, and it's something that it just made me stop. And okay, I'm going to try to breathe. I'm going to try this, and it's just something that just stop. Just stop. Just stop. Which is it's almost like paradoxical to say when you're on social media, everything is going up and down. Yeah. Everything's next reel, next reel, next reel. Do I like it? Do I like it? Is this giving me dopamine? No, it's not. Next. Everything is looking for that fix of dopamine. But it was something that just made me stop. And it was just breathe, and it's something that was very cathartic.
Glad.
It was cool.
God, I am so glad. I will totally send you another video. I have 2 videos actually. They're like meditation breathing techniques that I've like recorded for my clients, so that way they can practice doing it with me, but not actually with me. So I'll send them to you because very similar to what I posted.
Yeah, I feel like in this journey, I'm really spoiled because I have these conversations with these great individuals on my podcast, and I'm picking up things from each person. And it's really awesome. It's really awesome, and it's just I'm very privileged to have these conversations, and it's really cool. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate you. Yeah, because it's something that
appreciate this conversation. I feel like I've learned also so much just like sharing back and forth, and like love hearing your perspective and your incredible insights, honestly. It's been
I try.
fun. It's been
Good job.
so fulfilling and so fun. So thank you. I feel like I definitely am so grateful for our conversation.
I appreciate it. And we'll leave it there. We're past the hour, and we'll sign off for now. But yeah, we are. Look at that. Look at that. No, but I appreciate you, and thank you for coming on the Persona podcast. And I hope it was everything you expected. I mean, I know you had to breathe. You were anxious for it because you didn't want to do it, and all these things. Kept rescheduling, but it happened.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
I
It's all
know.
good.
That was so funny that happened. So my bad also.
No, it was my fault too. I think we were telling you. Yeah, we got it done though. Yeah.
We got it done. That's all that matters, coming back.
Yeah. We'll leave it there for now. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.